way, dude!
Nobody challenges Seidr.
Oh, I'm gonna challenge Seidr. Let's go, boys. Murdered. Hello gamers, we just finished normal difficulty on our Seidr worker. Seidr worker is Rune and Dream Mastery. We have some really nice pieces. Let me pull that up. Starting with our hat, you guys know the drill by now. We always play with a hallowed hat. Hallowed is plus the skills and vitality resistance. We got lucky here, this rolled of discipline. Discipline is sleep and skill disruption protection. And then on it we put the cunning of Odysseus. This is percentage intelligence, and then we also got a flat intelligence completion bonus. We can probably swap this off, we just haven't done it yet. Moving on to our other tried and true, we have Stonebinder's Cuff. This is plus the skills and elemental res, always rolls on there. You can see we also got armor prefix and dexterity suffix. Those aren't very exciting, but you basically take whatever you get on the Stonebinder's Cuffs. As always, I put Amun-Ra's Glory. You don't have to keep Amun-Ra's Glory on here, but because I play a hardcore solo self-found, a little bit of health goes a long way. The flat completion bonus here, we got lucky with the 95 health. That actually really helps a lot. That's normally what we would put on our hat too, but for a while we needed percentage intelligence for an item we were wearing. Then we have boots. Boots are really important for this build early on. You want to find of Pegasus. If you can, you want to find of Pegasus. And of Pegasus is elemental resist, elemental damages, and movement speed. And now we got really, really lucky. The prefix is curative, which is poison res. That's really, really lucky. And then as always on this sandal, we put Essence of Hermes sandal because even more movement speed, and the force completion bonus is another 20% poison res. That's really big right there. So that's all of our poison resist on one piece. 47% poison res. That's pretty nuts. So super lucky on that. But basically, if you guys are copying this, all you really need is Pegasus as a suffix, because this thing is really, really good. Moving on to our chest piece, Master Seer's Robe. This is percent elemental resist, elemental damage, less damage from constructs and devices, and then it rolled a suffix with dexterity. The dexterity is really important. We need it for our weapons. We'll go over our weapons next. But before we do that, Rigid Carapace goes on the chest piece. Almost as always, we're pretty low on Pierce Res. You can see on this character. There's methods we can do to fix that, but 28% is okay on normal. So then we left it that way. Moving on to our weapons, we have 2 Verdure Rune Stones. So we are dual wielding, and these are thrown weapons. You like throw magical bricks at your enemies. These items provide flat elemental damage and plus to magical charge. And we were focusing on elemental damage, right? So the 64 flat elemental damage is huge. This one rolled 56 elemental damage. The prefix on this one is Energy Leech, and it rolled no suffix. And then the prefix on this one is Biting. I think it's Biting. But it's the tier 2 cold damage. And then the suffix is Dexterity. Now, the reason the Dexterity on the chest and this offhand piece is so good is because we were sorely, for a while, lacking Dexterity. We needed 225. And you can see we're over it now, but to equip it, we got super lucky, and we needed the 18 dexterity and the 18 dexterity here, so that was super nice. So those are our weapons. Last thing, these was really important for the build. We have 2 rings of Tinkerer. No prefix on these, but of Tinkerer allows you to put 2 charms or 2 relics. So on this ring, on my right hand ring, we have Monkey King's Trickery. Monkey King's Trickery is reduced resistances, Ellie Res, skill disruption protection, and then the force completion bonus is 8 Pierce Res. So you can see that's where our 8 comes from, and then the other 20 Pierce Res is on our Rigid Carapace. Other charm on here is Demon's Blood. We needed the stun res, and I farmed for quite some time because I knew that the Demon's Blood has a stun completion bonus. So this is 55 stun res. This is all of our stun res in one piece. Is this second charm. Demon's Blood is Vitality Stun Res with the Stun Res completion bonus. It's pretty important in our build. We do have some methods to help it out later, but okay. And then our left ring. This is Evening Star. This is 15% elemental damages and 15% casting speed. We got really lucky. With the completion bonus, 14 elemental damage. That gets transmitted on any auto attack or any weapon pull skill or any weapon spell that uses your weapon, right? So Thunder Strike transmits all that damage. Like, this is like amazing. We got really lucky with the completion bonus. And then also the second charm here is Seidr, which is another 20 elemental damage always, and 20% weapon damage converted to elemental. That is important. We'll just quickly go over this skill right now. This skill converts your weapon damage to elemental. And so just to show you, the runestone at the top, 28 to 32 flat damage. That's normally physical damage. And now we are at 100% conversion. So all of it is elemental damage. And that's important because we're not scaling physical damage at all. So this ring, both these charms on this ring is really good. You can get really lucky and get a nice prefix, maybe some insulated or hardy or just some attributes right on here, but just honestly, just Tinkerer rings are enough for this build. What else do we have? Necklace. We got pretty lucky here. Spellbound of Survival. Spellbound is another % elemental damages, minus energy cost and % energy. That's huge. And then Survival is 200 health. That is very big. And then, as always, Golden Scarab we put on there. Force completion bonus is plus to skills. So we have +3 to skills, like we always play. One here, and then one here. Last but not least is our artifact. You can get literally any artifact you want that has attack speed. So that's our gear. Let me quickly show you our skills. The first most important thing that we'll talk about is Rune Weapon. This is in the Rune Mastery. You want to stack this as high as you can or as quick as possible. And if you level with it, I think 1 or 2 points in it is fine. But both of these bottom 2 skills you want to max out just ASAP. So the way Rune Weapon works is it's just like Onslaught. The more times you attack, the higher it charges up. And it has 13 charge levels. At the maximum charge, you get 33% elemental damages, 33% total damage, and 130% intelligence. That is pure damage. Like, that is just pure damage. Okay, now the next thing, Magical Charge. This doesn't require any. Only one charge. And the way this works is when you have one charge, if mobs hit you, that retaliation, 126 elemental retaliation procs, which is nice. It's nice in the beginning, but what we're really doing here is adding flat elemental damage. 63 elemental damage every time you attack is added to your weapon. And then again, remember, we're multiplying elemental damage, we're multiplying total damage, and we're multiplying intelligence. That all just multiplies this in addition to our gear bonuses. So it's huge. These two are amazing. And then following that line of thought, you only actually need 1 point for energy drain, because the only thing that scales here, energy drain, is energy leech per second, 4% attack damage converted health, reduction of offensive ability, and 10% slow. The only thing that's useful is, in my opinion, is the energy leech and the attack damage converted health. Those the energy leech scales with the more points you put in there, but you don't need more than one, honestly. And the attack damage converted health does not scale. So you only need 1 point. Later on, you can max it. That's totally fine when you're running out of points to use. If you're gonna go melee, it's a different story. You must reduce their offensive ability. If you're gonna be taking hit, you don't want to. If you're gonna be taking more hits, you want to be reducing their OA so that they can't hit you. That sort of thing. We already talked about transmutation a little bit. Before you get access to the Seidr, I'll put Seidr on screen right there. Before you have access to Seidr, you need this maxed, and you need to overcap it. Otherwise, you're not you're going to be splitting the damage type on your weapon, and that's no good. You can completely ignore using that and let your elemental damage be passive. I did, however, choose to focus elemental damage, and the reason we have this at 80% is because, remember, our Seidr does the additional 20%. So we're actually 101%, and you can't overcap it. Just know. Okay, so that's the first line here. While you're leveling, you want 1 point in Sacred Rage and 1 point in Frightening Power. You can put more points in Frightening Power if you find yourself being really good at staying inside of Sacred Rage. But, you know, I don't like that gameplay loop. Maybe I should make a video about how to stay inside of Sacred Rage. But the way this works is it has a duration, and for its duration, you have 20% damage absorption, energy regen, big total speed minus recharge, and slow resistance. Now it activates when you're at 40% HP. You can stay in that range of 40% HP. It's just not safe. So, you know, you can play around trying, you know, getting in and out of that, right? And it's fun to min-max, but if you're playing solo self-found hardcore or curses, you know, just don't do it. It's too scary. But it's a circuit breaker. If you're taking a lot of damage, basically what happens is you go to 40% HP, and then the next node, Frightening Power, when this activates, you go to 40% HP, Frightening Power, you have a 60% chance to fear them, which is pretty high. And this actually scales. The chance to fear them actually scales. So you should put more points here, because this will save your life way more than this one will, because the mobs will just run away. Anyways, so these two are really powerful for playing hardcore, so don't skip them. You do only need 1 point in dual wielding. Now, the way this works is you have 1 point, and then you can equip them. And if you want to attack with your second weapon more, you should put more points into it. I don't actually care, because most of our damage is coming from Thunderstrike, and I'll show you that in just a second. If you want to attack with your second weapon more frequently, you know, put more points into it, and then cap your attack speed. Basically, don't take energy armor. We're not going to talk about it. Just don't take it. Runeward Feather, you need this more for melee or different builds, but you're going to need this at some point, because all thrown weapons have strength requirement. Strength requirement for weapons. Shields are considered weapons, so if you're trying to equip a shield, this will actually help quite a bit. And also, you can see Runeward Feather gives an offensive ability, so this is really good for melee focused rune builds. But in our case, we only kind of needed 1 point. We'll probably pick up a couple more points later. This build is all about intelligence at this point, and index basically at this point. So moving up here, I did just pick up 1 point in Runeward Explode. When you auto attack, you have a chance to explode in an arc. This one has fragments. It's like fireballs that pop out. This, I feel like this never procs. You guys got to test it on your own, but we only have 1 point with our plus the skills. That puts out 4 out of 10 of each. You're not going to see this very much, because again, like I said, Thunderstrike does most of our damage. We did climb the bar and have a point in Runestorm. This is just for kind of like crowd control. You never actually take this to scale the damage. It does 75 physical damage, and in a large radius, it has a chance for skill disruption, stun, fear, confusion, and it all does elemental retaliation. You're not doing this for a ton of damage. It's just to control mobs. So again, 1 point's great. Again, like I said earlier, Thunderstrike is where we do all of our damage. 84% total damage. So what you do is you build up 13 charges, which is just a few attacks. It doesn't even take that long. You're at 130% intelligence, and then you do a Thunderstrike. When you're dual wielding, and you use Thunderstrike with thrown weapons, you throw a copy of each weapon times 5. So if you're only using 1 thrown weapon, that's 5 projectiles. If you're using 2, that's 10 projectiles. So it's massive. It's absolutely massive. So that's why we take Thunderstrike. You only need 1 point in Unleash. This does a second of skill disruption and, you know, chance for confusion. You don't need more than that, but you absolutely want to max Thunderstrike. Later in the build, we'll pick up Seal of Fate. That's reduction resistance. We only have one source of that right now. Maybe we'll pick up... sorry, no, I got it backwards. Seal of Fate, you only need 1 point. The Aftershock is where the RR. And maybe we'll max both, because this is a fair bit of elemental damage. But again, until we get to Epic and Legendary, you don't need a ton of RR. We don't have any in Runic Mines. If you pick up 1 point in each node, that's low investment, but it's like plenty of AoE. So we'll probably check that out in Epic. Rune of Life is really, really good. Some people need it for the bleed and vitality resist early on, so it's worth checking out. If you need to put more points in here, we only have 1 point for the percent strength and movement speed. You don't want to skip the movement speed, so that's huge. Free Vit Res too if you want to put more points. I don't usually take Menhir's Wall, but Guardian Stones is quite fun to play with. Doesn't do a ton of damage, but you can get some nice damage out on bosses, so we'll pick that up in Epic and maybe like Legendary difficulty. So moving on to Dream. This one's a bit more supportive. We just climbed the bar. You want to max Trance of Convalescence if you're playing hardcore. This is 18% damage absorption, 15 health regen, and 4 energy regen. It's good. Just turn it on. Just use it. Normally Dream, you want Lucid Dream Max. This is where your damage scaler is going to be. We only put 1 point because you have to put 1 point to get the further nodes. You can actually skip Premonition. This is OA and DA. If you're lacking on DA, you can get a lot here. Since we're wearing mage gear, you might be running out of DA, so maybe look at that. But you really want Temporal Flux. This is total speed, casting, attack, and movement, and then chance to avoid projectiles. That's huge. So you max that out. That's a really nice layer of defense and offense in one skill. So definitely check that out. We don't ever take Sands of Sleep. I'll take Summon Nightmare because this is another source of reduction resistance, but you don't need it until later. So you pick up the Eyeball and he'll do Hypnotic Gaze, which is 6% reduced resistances for 3 seconds. So just know that exists. We'll get that later. You can go Psionic Touch. I didn't really level this way. This is a couple charges, total damage, and then flat vitality every attack. So this is a really nice alternative. We chose to go elemental damage instead. Distortion Field, pick it up. Put points in it when you're struggling to figure out where to put points. 1 point's okay. Chance to activate, 15-second duration. You get flat damage absorption, you get percentage damage absorption, and physical damage retaliation. Just pick it up. It's really good. We don't have melee weapons, so we're not using Phantom Strike. I picked up Distort Reality for an AoE stun. You can do a little bit of damage here, but you can see this is physical damage and vitality damage. We're not scaling either of those. I'm just using it for the stun. The top node is Electrical Burn Damage. This will get a little bit more use out of because Intelligence scales Electrical Burn Damage. So this one's fun, but again, we're not really scaling damage types here. So again, we're just controlling mobs. And Distortion Wave, you can pick that up later. It again does physical damage on all 3 nodes, and we're just not really scaling that, but it does do quite a bit of reduction to armor, and that's quite nice. So we might play around with it when we're struggling with our skill points. But anyways, that's our build basically. You can see here we have set a couple points available. We're getting ready for Epic Stonebinder Cuff attribute requirements. Our stats are kind of as follows: 100, just under 200 in strength, just under 400 in intelligence, and 246 in dexterity. For a while we were like almost evenly split. I did spend quite a few points in health. As always, I aim for 1,000 hit points per chapter in normal difficulty, which means we should be at 5,000 points in Act 5. But I stopped spending points in health because we needed so much dexterity. So if you guys are following along, hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got something out of it. Thanks for watching.